Tonight, Premier Scott Moe says he'll scrap the carbon tax for industrial emitters. Why those on the front lines of the opioid crisis say better access to naloxone spray could save more lives. And parts of Saskatchewan get walloped by an early spring snowstorm.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, March 27th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The Saskatchewan government has announced it is eliminating the industrial carbon tax in the province. It comes as federal Liberal leader Mark Carney says a re-elected Liberal government would scrap the consumer carbon tax. But as Alexander Kwan reports, the policy shift is raising more questions than answers.
Effective on April 1st, 2025, Saskatchewan will now be a carbon tax-free province, the first carbon tax-free province in the nation of Canada.
Premier Scott Moe says Saskatchewan will no longer set a price on carbon for industrial emitters, but Moe provided few details on the plan Thursday, including the financial impact.
We're going to have those details in the days ahead as we go through the consultation with industry.
Saskatchewan's recently announced budget projects $431 million in revenue from industrial carbon pricing. But with that money no longer being collected, NDP leader Carla Beck says the government's slim surplus now has a gigantic hole.
I think that is not only defies the reality that we face, I think it's frankly insulting to the intelligence of people in this province.
One economist says the announcement continues the Sask party's dismantling of its own plan to deal with climate change. That document, called Prairie Resilience, was released in 2017.
We've taken out the electricity targets, we've taken out the industrial pricing system, so it's starting to look like Prairie Resilience is more like Prairie Obstinance. We're just getting climate policy out of the picture here in Saskatchewan when we should be trying to elevate and amplify our efforts.
Another expert says Moe's comments leave out the federal government's role in carbon pricing.
It's the same as if Saskatchewan wanted to decide it's an income tax-free province. It can absolutely decide not to have a provincial income tax. It can't decide not to have a federal income tax imposed in Saskatchewan.
Ottawa could decide to impose its own pricing on industrial emitters if it wanted. But with an election campaign ongoing, experts say that likely won't happen. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is promising to end the industrial carbon tax altogether, so a federal response to Saskatchewan's announcement may depend on who forms government in April. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The province has rebooted its temporary foreign worker program with new rules. The changes prioritize some sectors while other jobs will no longer qualify. The Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program lets businesses here hire foreign workers for hard-to-fill jobs. Last month, the province paused applications after Ottawa slashed the number of immigrants the province could bring here. The retooled program now prioritizes workers in healthcare, agriculture, and skilled trades and caps the number of nominees working in food services and trucking. That could affect some immigrants already here on work permits.
It's a panic at this point. We're just trying to figure out who's affected, how they're affected, what would be their alternative sources to, sustain their businesses so they don't suffer. And workers who are affected, what are their chances? Would they be moving to another provinces? So to find a way to permanent residency.
3/4 of all nominees must already live in Canada as temporary residents. The province says spas, salons, and pet care services no longer qualify for the program. Regina City Council is taking its fight against homelessness to a new level. It's declared a homelessness crisis in the city, and it is now calling on the provincial and federal governments to provide emergency funding to help solve it. The city currently has 2 action plans to tackle the homelessness issue, the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan and the Everyone is Home Plan. But both plans will cost money, and last night's declaration instructed city administration to find out how much will be needed.
Actually quite easy to make a plan. Plans are easy, right? The hard part is to fund and execute the plan. And what we're seeking now is to understand what are the actual dollars required to implement the plans we have, and we're seeking partnership in good faith. We're seeking partnership in good faith, and I would say I'm very optimistic the provincial government will work with us.
Regina's latest point-in-time homelessness count shows just over 800 people were without stable housing in the city as of late last year. That's an increase of 255% since 2015. Council also unanimously passed a motion to update playground accessibility. The new standards will widen pathways and prevent the use of wood chips. Both measures will help children who use wheelchairs. The motion was introduced by Ward 5 Councillor Sarah Turnbull, whose own daughter is paraplegic.
It started when I realized recess, when I thought about recess. When I thought about how recess is a right for everyone and having to be sidelined at recess, and not just my daughter being sidelined at recess, but everyone around them being taught that that's how you treat people with a disability.
All new playgrounds will take into account the new accessibility rules. Next year's city budget will also debate a $1 million refurbishment fund for current playgrounds. They will then be upgraded to the new standards. The city will also study the creation of a new indoor accessible playground. Well, with a rise in overdoses happening in Saskatoon recently, some frontline groups in the province are looking for more solutions. And they say better access to naloxone nasal spray is one thing that will help. Bonnie Allen reports.
This would go in the nostril. I'm not going to put it in my nostril. And then you just push the button like this once it's in the nostril.
This pharmacist says nasal spray is the easiest way to give naloxone, a medication that reverses an opioid overdose. But at the moment, only the injectable form is covered by the province. Sarah Kazusko says that needs to change.
Some people just are not going to feel comfortable using the needles. And if that is something that stops somebody from using naloxone or carrying naloxone, then that's a barrier that we should get rid of.
Staff at Prairie Harm Reduction have seen the overdose spike in Saskatoon firsthand. On average, one overdose every hour through most of March. Kayla DeMong has the injection form of naloxone, but has been pleading for donations to buy nasal kits so she can easily teach more people to respond to overdoses.
Knowing the crisis that we're in, just make it available.
The province's take-home naloxone program gives out injectable naloxone for free at nearly 300 locations. The needles are more affordable for the province. A kit with 2 needles retails at roughly $50, whereas a kit with 2 nasal sprays is about $72.
We're looking at the nasal naloxone. We haven't made a decision as to whether that's something we're going to distribute, but it's something we're looking at.
Rob Krauser works with the Regina Street team. He donated nasal kits to Saskatoon to help people on the front lines.
You're not as used to using the syringe, and it can be scary. Like the first 30, 40, 50 overdoses that I responded to on the street and had to use the injectables, your hands are shaking. You're trying to fit it into this little vial, and you're trying to break it open all while in your head thinking that every single second is life or death for this person.
Krauser believes making naloxone nasal spray free would help save lives. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Swift Current.
Well, parts of our province are getting blasted with a significant spring storm. Heavy snow, strong winds, and freezing rain have been bearing down on many areas. And as Helena Mahalik reports, winter's grasp likely won't end once the storm is gone.
Snow started falling here in Saskatoon Thursday morning, just in time for the commute, but it's become heavier as the day has gone on, and Environment Canada says some areas of the province are in for quite a bit of snow.
It's coming in from the west, so we're expecting a large swath of about 10 to 20 centimeters over a big portion of southern Saskatchewan, mainly concentrated along the Yellowhead Highway, kind of around Saskatoon down through Yorkton area.
Desjardins says the stormy weather is all thanks to an intense Alberta clipper. It's also bringing strong wind, lowering visibility, and has prompted freezing rain warnings for areas between Regina and Saskatoon. The province's highway hotline has reported several roads are not recommended for travel, and the RCMP is urging drivers to check road conditions before they head out. The storm is supposed to last until Friday, but Desjardins says the wintry weather won't end there, as colder temperatures are in store for the weekend.
We are, quickly entering into the spring. Daytime highs, actually, for normal daytime highs for this time of year are above zero. So We're not going to see those really, really cold temperatures anymore, but that being said, it will still feel quite cold for this time of year.
With temperatures several degrees below freezing during the day and dropping well into the minus teens overnight, the snow will likely be here to stay, at least for a little while longer. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And a live look now at Saskatoon, where for the time being the snow has subsided. Still a bit windy out there, though. Our weather specialist Riley Lachuk is standing by with a look at our forecast. He's going to be telling us just how much more snow is on the way. Spoiler alert, yes, there is more coming. And just how cold things are going to get in time for the weekend that you heard Environment Canada talking about there. And of course, if there's any relief in sight come next week, stay with us. We'll have that coming up after the break. Welcome back. Well, our snowstorm and cold temperatures might have you wishing for nicer spring weather, but inside one Regina woman's house, it's spring all year round. She has hundreds of houseplants growing in just about every corner.
A lot of people come in and they're like, whoa, there's a lot of plants in here. And to me, I don't see it anymore. I live with them every day, so it's just normal. At one point, last I counted, I was probably about 510 plants, let's say. And if I were to water all of them in the same day, it would probably take me about 4 to 5 hours. I like to talk about like succulents and stuff as being the gateway plants. You get one, you're successful, you feel that reward because you're growing something and you think, I can do it again, I can do it again, until you're up to, I can do it again 450 times. This is my west-facing window, so we have a lot of cacti and succulents. I did find this skeleton. I think he was used in a doctor's office at one point in time or as a teaching tool. And I really wanted to grow a vining plant up him. So it's definitely a lesson in patience because you have to let the plant grow. These are all Hoyas, but this one up here has a really cool flower. It's kind of fuzzy, and some people say smells like jasmine. I've heard smells like chocolate. Some of them are just like, they're really hard to assess how much they would be worth. Let's start at 10,000. And we can go from there, kind of thing. We're getting into the books and plant shelves, which I feel like are very fun and showcasey. Adding these grow lights into the shelf lets me add more plants to my house. Some of them will sun stress. If they're getting a lot of highlight, they'll sort of blush, like when we tan.
So is that like the more pink?
Yes. Everybody's like, oh no, because you hear the word stress and it's just like something scary. But it's not. This is a philodendron. I bought it when it was sort of this big and it's just taken off. It's a very happy plant. But what I really love about it is that the petioles are very, very fuzzy. Jungle cacti along the wall here, acting as kind of like a headboard. What I have going on right now might be overwhelming to some, but to me it just feels like home. These are bits of me all over the place. Everything in here is very intentional and I get to look at it and it brings me joy, and the plants are definitely part of that. In the basement, and we have a new giant leaf growing in here. My cactus collection, these guys I only water maybe once a month during the winter. Agave is what tequila is made from. Probably not these ones, but yeah, so this is an agave. This is an agave. That is an agave. That is an agave there. About once a week I'll go through the collection, see who needs watering, see who needs like pruning, any special care, if somebody's growing, giving them fertilizer. Temperature also plays a very important role, and I feel like it's the one that kind of gets neglected the most. They need that summer, that heat, that light to come back again. They're all kind of just in a state of dormancy mostly. I have some grow lights, so that helps sort of keep them looking good a little bit longer. With just natural light though, you will see a bit of a lag, but don't panic, they'll come back. I say set that fear of killing them aside. We all kill houseplants as long as you're learning from it and you're figuring out what works for you, what works for your home. Don't let it hold you back. Outside, especially during the winter here, it can be gray, it can be dismal and that kind of stuff. And then I come home and it's like green and bright and full of some of my favorite things. And it's just like, okay, you can just let out that sigh of relief and just relax.
And if you're a tulip fan, well, you may want to consider a trip to India soon. The flowers at Asia's largest tulip garden are now in full bloom. The Indira Gandhi Memorial Tulip Garden sprawls over some 30 hectares. It was established in 2007 to boost tourism to the area in the spring. It has since become a major attraction in Indian Kashmir, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. And we'll bring you back to reality here in Saskatchewan. This is what spring looks like here right now. No tulips in sight, that's for sure. A windy and snowy Saskatoon. And weather specialist Riley Lachuk joins us now for a look at how much longer this is going to last. Hi, Riley.
All right, well, a bit of a rough ride for some of us as we've gotten through the day with some pretty considerable snow falling in the central parts of the province. Saskatoon getting some of that into the Parkland region as well, and further to the south. Yes, some the far southern parts of the province getting a few showers and even some mixing where we're getting some warm air meeting this cold air mass as it makes its way eastward. So yeah, a little bit of snow, not totally unexpected. We still do have some watches and warnings in place. Snowfall warning looking at up to 20 centimeters by the time this is all said and done into Friday morning for Saskatoon, tapering off west to east overnight into the morning hours. For the Parkland in particular, maybe in some of those higher elevations around the Duck Mountains, you pick up some locally higher amounts. But yes, up to 20 centimeters and a freezing rain warning where some of that warm air is meeting some of that cooler air, creating some of those conditions because temperatures have been sitting, in some cases, a 10-degree difference. Look at this between outlook and swift current through the day, and even some double digits where the jet stream kind of cuts through here in the southwestern corner of the province. So yeah, tale of two sides of the province here in terms of weather. -3 in Yorkton, -1 in Saskatoon through the afternoon hours. As we get into the overnight hours into Friday morning, that snow does start to taper off, but another band of it starts to push through first thing in the morning. So more like periods of light snow through the morning hours. You'll really want to watch, particularly along the Trans-Canada, along Highway 16 for some of this snow first thing in the morning. A little bit of wind with this as well. So do keep that in mind that we could get into some blowing snow. Some reduced visibility, certainly as we get through the day, as we get this worked out of our system. Into Saturday, mostly cloudy skies. We start to see a ridge of high pressure building to the north. This will cool temperatures as we get into the day on Saturday, but we'll keep the cloud cover through south and central, and that will keep temperatures a little bit closer to seasonal as we get into the weekend. We'll have more on that in your long range in just a moment. In terms of snowfall yet to come, these numbers probably pretty accurate. I mean, maybe not so much back to the west, but Saskatoon into Yorkton, yes, I do think by the time this is all said and done, we do have another 15, 20 centimeters on the ground. And as that system works its way in into Friday morning, 2 to 5 centimeters, not out of the question for Regina into the southeastern corner of the province. So yes, don't put the snow brushes away yet and make sure that you're ready to do a little bit of shoveling as we head into the day on Friday. The winds, the other part of this, we're looking at northeasterly winds gusting up to 50 through the day tomorrow. That's why I say I think there's a good chance we see some blowing snow into the day on Friday. We'll see those winds start to back off as we get into the weekend. So Regina, -6 for your Friday. Some light snow through the early part of the day that does taper off into the afternoon. Then we're below seasonal through the weekend. We start to see our pattern changing by mid next week, and that's when we see temperatures jumping up closer to more seasonal conditions at +4. Light snow in Saskatoon tomorrow, -7, below seasonal right through the weekend again, and temperatures staying below seasonal in the Saskatoon area right into next week.
Okay, spring struggling to get along. Thanks so much, Riley. Well, active volcano Kilauea on the island of Hawaii has been erupting on and off since late December. It has sent lava into the air and spilled molten rock across the floor of the caldera, which is the large depression that forms when a volcano erupts and collapses inward. Tourists have been flocking to the area to catch a glimpse of the spectacle. Authorities say the eruption does not pose a threat to people living in the area. Kilauea is one of 6 active volcanoes in Hawaii, including one that is underwater. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. The Saskatchewan Health Authority has confirmed another case of measles in the province, this time outside of southwest Saskatchewan, where 2 other cases were confirmed and a 3rd suspected earlier this month. Health officials didn't say exactly where the infected person lives, but they visited several restaurants, stores, and medical facilities in North Battleford and Saskatoon late last week and early this week. Doctors say the measles disease is extremely contagious among unvaccinated people. In Saskatchewan, the rate of people being vaccinated against measles dropped between 2020 and 2021 and has not improved since.
If you have 10 people who are susceptible, meaning that they are not immunized, they don't have any immunity to measles, if you have 10 people who are susceptible and who are exposed, around 9 of them actually will end up being infected. That's to tell you how contagious measles is.
And Sungu says there is a much higher chance of spread in an under-immunized community. He says if close contacts are fully immunized against the disease, they are not a risk to others. A full list of the affected locations in North Battleford and Saskatoon is available on the SHA's website.
All right, so we are looking at some snow as we head overnight into Friday morning for really most of us across south and central parts of the province, with the risk of freezing rain, especially along the international border. Estevan at -5 overnight. Saskatoon into Humboldt, 5 to 10 centimeters more snow yet to come overnight, closer to 20 centimeters to the east into the Parkland tonight. Looking at cooler conditions in the north, actually temperatures close to -30 in far northern sections, -27 overnight in Uranium City. That's where we do have a little bit more sunshine through the day. So a mainly sunny sky, maybe a bit of high-level cloud throughout the day on Friday, and temperatures below seasonal for this time of the year, -11s to -13s. Maybe we get up to -9 or -8 by the time we get to the late afternoon. So still a little bit of winter to come, and then we've got this mess making its way through as we get through the day. On Friday, maybe you pick up another few centimeters of snow in Regina, up to 5 centimeters through the southeastern corner of the province and into Saskatoon and points further to the west. This does taper off as we get through the day.
Okay, keeping the shovels handy. Thank you, Riley. And that is it for us. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website, cbc.ca/sask, or you can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.